Walker, two participants in the sit-in movement. Before we had our break, Mr. Patton, you were talking about the philosophy in a real sense of the sit-in movement and et cetera. But let's talk about your first sit-in, some of the experiences that you had in dealing with that.
Well, my first sit-in was that it was very calm. As a matter of fact, it did not make the front page. We were way back in the back of the page, and the people, they closed the counter, but there were people who were outside looking in the windows of Crest and Woolworth and those stores and wondering what was going on. And it was a very peaceful sit-in. I was also a part of what we called then the aristocratic bands, the A&I Marching 100. So I would imagine that there were times when I was not able to sit in simply because of band rehearsals going out of town. But everything was orderly. And we had a very excellent teacher and teachers, not just Lawson, but Kelly Miller Smith played a great and a very important role in the sit-ins.
Very good. And you, Mr. Walker, in reference to your sit-in, you were in the Freedom Rides, and the sit-ins came before the Freedom Ride, I understand.
That's correct.
Is that right? Now, what made you decide to leave after the sit-in, made you decide to become involved in the, say something about your sit-in participation and then how you became involved in the Freedom Rides.
Okay, well, first thing I have to say about my sit-in participation, I would just like to add a little bit more about those nonviolent training workshops led by Reverend Jim Lawson. We were well grounded in the philosophy of nonviolence, and some of the things that Reverend Lawson used to bring us on board as to what nonviolent protest was about was a couple of passages, for example, from Matthew and Luke in the Bible, which spoke of turning the other cheek.
Okay.
Another resource he used was Henry David Thoreau, who had written the essay on civil disobedience, where Thoreau talked about in an unjust society, people of conscience have an obligation, a moral obligation to speak out about those injustices. I think that one of the things he said was that the only place for a righteous person, a person of conscience in an unjust society is in jail. So that was kind of the background. And he also talked a great deal about Gandhi and how Gandhi had used nonviolence. And one of the things that, just to give you an idea about Gandhi's philosophy, is that Gandhi had said at one time that an eye for an eye can end up making the whole world blind. So we were well grounded in a theory of nonviolence, and I think that thorough schooling about nonviolence accounted for the fact that nobody in any of the demonstrations ever retaliated violence with violence. So that's credit to how
it really
well
speaks well of what's going on, especially when you think about the nature of violence. And you can probably tell us, Mr. Patton, about the nature of some of the violence that you met during this movement.
Well, actually, I did not meet any violence at all.
You got put in jail in the
Freedom
Rides.
I was not put in jail in Nashville.
No, but on
the Freedom Rides.
The Freedom Rides,
I was in jail, yes.
Well, talk about some of the violence you experienced on the Freedom Rides.
Well, actually, first of all, I think we need to let the audience know that when CORE, the word has been used, abandoned the Freedom Ride because of what happened in Anniston, Alabama, the burning of the bus, and in Birmingham when they beat the riders that were on the bus, and CORE flew into New Orleans, and then they dispersed and went back to Washington.